Erev Tov Rabotai, we're continuing with our Mishna Yomi Mesechet Sheviit. We are up to Perek Tet Mishnah Bet. Today's Mishnah should be Leilu Nishmat Neria Ben Svidlana Aranbai Menuchato Began Eden. Amen. The rest of this chapter, Rabotai, is going to discuss the laws of Bi'ur. Let us explain what exactly Bi'ur is. A person is allowed to pick limited amounts of produce on Shemitah and keep them in his house for the use of himself and for his family, as long as that type of produce can still be found in the field for wild animals to eat. Once that species that he took is no longer available outdoors to wild animals, he is forbidden to keep any of that species in his house. At that point, he has to perform the process of bi'ur, which is he gives up his rights of ownership in the produce and he puts it outside his house for anyone to take. If the bi'ur is not performed at the required time, the produce can never be eaten. Now, the Mefarshim explain the obligation to perform bi'ur is determined not by a species availability in Eretz Yisrael as a whole, but by its availability in the region in which it grew. The Mishnah now, Mishnah Bet, is going to identify the areas of Eretz Yisrael that determine the availability of a species. The Mishnah says, Shalosh aratzot la bi'ur. There are 3 lands, provinces in Eretz Yisrael for the purpose of bi'ur. Yehuda, Ve'ever Yarden, V'Galil. Yehuda, which is the south of Eretz Yisrael, the west side of the Jordan River, which is the center of Eretz Yisrael, and the Galil, which is the north of Eretz Yisrael. As long as a type of produce is available to wild animals somewhere in a particular province, it can be eaten at home anywhere in that province. But once it disappears from the fields of a province, eating it without bi'ur is asur throughout that province, even if it is still available in the other 2 provinces. Right? We're going to see this more at length in this Mishnah and in the next Mishnah. So again, Rabotai, Shalosh aratzot la bi'ur. There are 3 lands in Eretz Yisrael for the purpose of bi'ur. Yehuda, the south part of Eretz Yisrael. Ever Eden, the west side of the Jordan River, which is the center of Eretz Yisrael. And Galil, the Galil, which is the north of Eretz Yisrael. The Mishnah continues, V'shalosh aratzot lekol achat v'achat. And there are 3 regions within each and every one of the 3 provinces, meaning each of the 3 provinces, Yehuda and the Ever Yarden and the Galil, is itself divided into 3 regions, with each region corresponding to a particular type of terrain, mountainous areas, lowlands, and valleys. The Mefarshim explain that the 3 regions of each provinces are mentioned in order to help identify the boundaries of the province. In some cases, we're going to see there are also halachic consequences for the different regions in each province. Now, the Mishnah is going to identify the 3 regions of each province, starting with Galil. Galil ha'elyon v'Galil ha'tachton v'ha'emek. The 3 regions in the Galil are the upper Galil, the lower Galil, and the valley. Mikfar Chananya ulmalan, kol she'enu megadel shikmin. Right? The Mishnah says, Galil ha'elyon. The Mishnah says, Mikfar Chananya ulmala. The mountainous territory from Kfar Chania and above, northward, Kol she'enu megadel shikmin, wherever the terrain does not support the growth of sycamore trees because of its mountains, Galil Elyon, that's known as the upper Galil. Umikfar Chananya ulmata, and the lowlands extending from Kfar Chananya and below, southward, Kol shum megadel shikmin, wherever the terrain does support the growth of sycamore trees because of its flat terrain, Galil HaTachton, that's known as the lower Galil. Utchum Tveria Emek, in the vicinity of Tveria is the valley. And the Mefarshim explain that sycamores tend to grow only in low-lying areas. Therefore, they are found in areas such as south of Kfar Chananya, which are lowlands, but not in the areas north of Kfar Chananya, which are mountainous. Right now, the Mishnah is going to name the 3 regions of Yehuda. Ubihuda, and these are the 3 regions in Yehuda. Hahar, Shefela, Va'emek. Right? The mountains of Yehuda, Hahar, Shefela, the lowlands of Yehuda, Va'emek, and the valley of Yehuda. Now the Mishnah is going to deal with the Ever Yarden, the west side of the Jordan, which is the center of Eretz Yisrael. Ushfelat Lod kishfelat Darom, and the lowlands of Lod, which is the low-lying region of the west side of the Yarden of Jordan, has the same status as the lowlands of the south, which is the low-lying region of Yehuda, meaning as long as a type of produce can still be found in the lowlands of the south in Yehuda, that type of produce can be eaten at home in the lowlands of Lod, in the central province. and the mountains of Lod, which is the mountainous regions of the west side of the Jordan, has the same status as the mountains of the king, which is the mountainous region of Yehuda, meaning as long as a type of produce can still be found in the mountains of the king in Yehuda, it can be eaten at home in the mountains of Lod, which is the mountainous area of the west side of the Yarden. Now the Mefarshim explain, even though the Mishnah just taught us on top that there are 3 provinces regarding the law of Bi'ul, meaning once a species becomes unavailable in one province, it may not be eaten anywhere in that province, even if it can be found elsewhere, there are 2 places in the country that are exceptions to the rule. Those 2 places are the lowlands and the mountainous area of the west side of the Jordan, right? A species does not require bi'ul in the lowlands of the west side of the Jordan, as long as it can still be found in the lowlands of Yehuda, even if it has completely disappeared from the entire west side of the Jordan. Likewise, a species does not require bi'ul in the mountainous area of the west side of the Jordan, as long as it can still be found in the mountainous area of the Jordan, even if it has completely disappeared from the entire west side of the Jordan. Therefore, the Mishnah has named to us 2 of the 3 regions of the west side of the Jordan, which is the lowlands of Lod and the mountains of Lod. Now it's going to tell us the 3rd region. The territory that extends from Bet Choron to the Mediterranean Sea is one region. That's known as the valley region of the west side of the Jordan. Now the Mefarshim explained to us that the Mishnah describes the valley region of the west side of the Jordan as one region to show that it's different from the mountainous areas and the lowlands of the west side of the Jordan. In order for the mountainous areas or the lowlands to require bi'ul, all produce of that species must have disappeared not only from the entire west side of the Jordan, but also from the mountainous and low-lying regions of Yehuda, respectively, like we said in the previous step. However, the deadline for the valley of the west side of the Jordan is determined only by the availability of the species in that region itself, and it has nothing to do with its availability in Yehuda. That is in Rabotai Mishnah Bet. Mishnah Gimel now continues. We just learned in the previous Mishnah that Eretz Yisrael is divided into 3 provinces in regards to the laws of Bi'ul, and that each of those provinces are subdivided into 3 regions. Our Mishnah is going to explain now why Mishnah Bet didn't just say that there are 9 regions. Why did the Chachamim say that there are 3 lands? Since each province is divided into 3 regions, there's really 9 lands. The Chachamim specified 3 lands in order to teach that we can continue eating produce in any one province until the last of that species disappears from all 3 regions of that province. Meaning, if it can still be found in one region of the province, we can continue eating it in the other regions of that province. Why? Because the province is treated as a single unified area in regards to bi'ul, even though it can be divided into smaller regions. Therefore, in practice, there are only 3 lands, which is the 3 provinces. Now, the Mefarshim explain, since the bi'ul deadline depends on the availability of a species to wild animals, the boundaries of an area regarding bi'ul depend upon where animals will go in search of food. The Chachamim received by way of tradition from the earlier generations that the wild animals in Eretz Yisrael roam from one region to another within a single province to seek food. For example, from the mountainous areas of Yehuda to the lowlands of Yehuda. But they tend not to roam from one province to another, like from Yehuda to Galil. Therefore, each province is regarded as a single entity. There are 2 exceptions, however. Animals roam between the mountainous area of the west side of the Jordan and the mountainous area of Yehuda, and they also roam between the lowlands of the west side of the Jordan and the lowlands of Yehuda. Rabbi Shimon Omer, however, Rabbi Shimon takes a different approach. He says, Lo amru shalosh aratzot ela b'Yehuda. They spoke only of 3 lands when they spoke about Yehuda, meaning when the Chachamim mentioned 3 lands, they were referring to the 3 different regions of Yehuda, which is the mountains of Yehuda, the lowlands of Yehuda, and the valley of Yehuda. Each of those regions is a separate area, in regards to Bi'ul. Ush'al kol ha'aratzot kehar HaMelech. But all the other provinces of Eretz Yisrael, which is the Galil and the Ever Eden, the west side of the Jordan, they have the same bi'ur deadline as the mountains of the king, which is the mountainous region of Yehuda. And the Mefarshim explain, according to Rabbi Shimon, for example, when a type of produce disappears from the mountainous region of Yehuda, one may not eat it in that region, even if it is still available in the lowlands of Yehuda or in the valley of Yehuda, because the Chachamim are considering it 3 separate lands. But again, we said, Shal kol ha'aratzot ke'aramelech, all the other provinces of Eretz Yisrael, which is Galil and the Ever Eden, the west side of the Jordan, they have the same biur deadline as the mountains of the king, which is the mountainous region of Yehuda, meaning produce is abundant in the mountainous regions of Yehuda, and they remain in the fields later than anywhere else in the country. Therefore, you have that category on its own. All the other provinces stand like the Har HaMelech. And all the lands of Eretz Yisrael are as one. They are considered the same halacha with respect to olives and dates, meaning we are allowed, we may eat either of those 2 species as long as it can still be found anywhere in Eretz Yisrael, because the entire Eretz Yisrael is considered one area in this respect. And then the Farshim explain that in search of olives and dates, wild animals will roam even from one province to another, and therefore the time for a biul for each of these 2 species will not arrive until it has disappeared from all of Eretz Yisrael. The Rab does tell us, Ven halacha ke Rabbi Shimon, the halacha does not follow Rabbi Shimon, rather the halacha follows the Tanna Kama, that is 3 regions split into another 3 categories in each region. And that is the Rabotai of today's Mishna Yomi. Baruch Adonai Leolam, Amen v'Amen.